Welcome to Tomorrow Unveiled.
And welcome to the episode where we are, quite literally, strapping in for an unparalleled look at the future of integrated technology.
That's exactly right. This week on Tomorrow Unveiled, we are going deep on the most significant shifts in wearable tech, looking specifically at the period from November 26th to December 3rd, 2025.
And the story that really jumped out from all the data our dedicated research team pulled together isn't just that, things are getting smaller or faster.
No, it's much bigger than that.
It's that the whole relationship, the fundamental connection between our bodies and our computers is changing right now.
If you think back, maybe a decade ago, the whole idea of wearables was pretty simple. It was that whole quantified self movement.
Right, the quantified self. That was all about passive tracking, counting your steps, logging your sleep, looking at your heart rate variability.
You were basically just auditing your own life, looking at data from yesterday.
Exactly. And then, came wave two, the connected self. Your watch buzzed with notifications. You can pay for coffee with it. It was an extension of your phone.
But based on the just the overwhelming consensus and the material we reviewed this week, that's all in the rearview mirror now. We are officially in the era of the augmented self.
The augmented self, and that's the key phrase. It's the jump from tracking what you did yesterday to actively changing what you will do in the next 5 minutes.
So the device is no longer just a mirror.
Not at all. It's becoming an active, intelligent partner, an extension of your own capabilities. In some cases, and this is the really big news, with a therapeutic goal. It stops being an accessory and starts becoming, in a way, a functional part of you.
And this huge transition, it's not a coincidence. The research team highlighted three really powerful forces that are all converging at the exact same time. We saw this across nearly every source.
Yes. And if you understand these three pillars, you basically understand the entire market shift.
So what's pillar number one?
The first one is the maturation of edge AI, and of course, large language models, LLMs. This is probably the biggest computational change.
So instead of your watch sending data to a server farm in another state.
Exactly.
Right.
All the heavy lifting, the intelligence for complex stuff like diagnosing how you walk or recognizing an object in real time, that can now happen right there on your body, locally.
And that has some immediate, very real benefits for the person wearing it, doesn't it? What are the big three?
Great question. The first is latency, or rather the lack of it. If you need real-time translation, you need a response in milliseconds. The cloud just can't guarantee that.
The lag would make it unusable.
Completely. Second, battery life. Sending data over a radio is one of the most power-hungry things a small device can do. Processing it locally is way, way more efficient.
And the third one, which feels more important every single day, is privacy.
Absolutely critical. Your most sensitive biometric data, the way you walk, the chemical makeup of your sweat, it never has to leave the device. It stays with you.
Okay, so that's the intelligence, the computational force. What's the second pillar? The physical one.
That's the extreme miniaturization of the hardware itself. The sensors, the displays, the chips, the little antennas, they're all shrinking to the point where you just don't notice them anymore.
And that's key. It's solving that cyborg stigma problem.
It is. If you don't forget you're wearing it after 10 minutes, the tech is a failure. And the progress we saw this week shows we're finally cracking that nut.
And the third force. This is the one that really elevates the whole conversation.
This is regulatory validation. We're seeing huge milestones in FDA clearance for wearables, which confirms they aren't just wellness gadgets anymore.
They're becoming legitimate medical therapeutics.
Prescribed by doctors, reimbursed by insurance. That's the leap. So the data from our team this week, it really confirmed this wasn't just about small improvements. It was about the birth of the first true prosthetic technologies. Devices that are essential extensions of what you can do, and they have the clinical proof to back it up.
That's the mission for Tomorrow Unveiled today, then. To show you how these devices are moving from being just accessories to being indispensable. Intelligent systems strapped right onto the human experience.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's unpack this with the first big battleground, and that is the face. The research was really clear on this. The face is the new platform for computing. It's driving this huge global competition in smart eyewear.
And it all comes back to solving that problem you just mentioned, the cyborg stigma.
Right. Previous generations of smart glasses, they failed because they were heavy, they were clunky.
You look like you walked off a sci-fi movie set, and not a good way.
Exactly. So this week, we saw two massive launches that come at this problem from completely different angles. The first one is Rockin's big win in just pure hardware miniaturization.
Let's talk about the Rockin launch, because the key number here is the weight, isn't it?
It is. It's everything.
So Rockin launched a full-function AI and AR device, and it weighs only 49 grams.
49 grams. Let's put that in context for everyone listening. Your standard prescription glasses, the ones you might be wearing right now, they probably weigh between 20 and 35 grams.
Right, and older AR glasses, they could be 75, 80 grams, even more. You feel that on your face after an hour. It's fatiguing.
So when Rocket hits 49 grams, that just shatters the engineering ceiling. It moves the device from being a bulky headset you use for a specific task.
To a comfortable garment you can wear all day. Once you get under that 50-gram mark, for most people, it becomes functionally unnoticeable. You forget it's there.
And how did they do it? Because that kind of weight reduction, it has to come with some serious trade-offs.
It does. They made a very deliberate strategic choice. They sacrificed raw, high-end graphical power, the kind of stuff you'd need for complex 3D rendering, like what Meta and Apple are chasing, to win big on the form factor.
So what's powering it then?
It's running on the Qualcomm AR1 platform, which is specifically optimized for this. It's designed for the low-power, thermally constrained world of glasses. Its whole job is to be incredibly efficient at two things: image processing and running AI models on the device for things like recognition and translation.
Which means they don't need big, heavy batteries or bulky heat sinks to cool it down.
Precisely. And the other part of the magic, the part that makes them look like normal glasses, is the display tech. They're using something called micro-LED waveguides.
Okay, break that down for us. What's a waveguide?
Think of it like a tiny transparent pipe for light embedded right inside the lens. A tiny projector hidden in the arm of the glasses shoots the image into this pipe, and the waveguide channels it directly into your eye.
Ah, so you avoid those big, clunky prisms you used to see on the front of older models, those bird bath optics.
Exactly. It lets the lenses stay thin and look completely normal. The strategy is crystal clear. Kill the cyborg stigma at any cost. Make it something people actually want to wear.
Okay, so Rokit is all about being the lightest, most comfortable AI gateway. But at the same time, we saw a launch from Alibaba with their Quark AI glasses. And they're taking a completely different path.
A totally different philosophy. Alibaba's play is a masterclass in vertical integration. They're not trying to sell you a general-purpose computer for your face.
They're selling you a terminal.
A physical terminal for their massive service and commerce empire. It's the ecosystem play taken to its logical extreme.
And the core of that is the deep integration with their own AI, right?
Absolutely. The defining feature is that it's hardwired with Alibaba's own Qwen large language model. You're not just running an app on a pair of glasses. The research showed that, for all intents and purposes, you were wearing Qwen.
And this leads us to the application that our research team flagged as the most disruptive: contextual commerce.
This is the part that really changes things. It basically reduces the friction of buying something to almost zero. The Quark S1, which is about $537, and the cheaper G1 at $268. They enabled this seamless scan-to-buy loop.
So walk us through how that would work in the real world.
Okay, you're walking down the street, you see a pair of shoes you like on someone, you look at them, the Quiem AI on the glasses identifies the brand, the style, finds it on Taobao, maybe finds a similar pair for a better price.
And then what?
A little prompt appears in your vision. You just say a voice command or tap the side of the glasses, and through Alipay, the transaction is done. You've bought the shoes.
Without ever touching your phone. No unlocking, no opening an app, no typing in a search.
Your every glance becomes a potential transaction.
But does that mean a model like the Alibaba Bakwan model? Is it basically a non-starter in Western markets?
Yeah.
We don't have that kind of centralized, integrated e-commerce and payment system.
That's a really sharp insight. And yeah, if we pull back to the big picture, this highlights a major strategic split in the global smart glasses market.
How so?
Western tech, led by companies like Meta, Apple, Google, they're very focused on what they call spatial computing, productivity, 3D collaboration, virtual monitors, that kind of thing.
While the Chinese model, with Alibaba as the prime example, is almost entirely focused on contextual commerce, shopping, services, real-world integration.
Exactly. And that model works incredibly well where mobile payments are already everywhere and everything is connected to one or two super apps. So yes, it's definitely less transferable to markets that don't have that infrastructure already in place.
So it's two different visions for the face. The West sees it as a mobile office. The East sees it as a mobile shopping mall.
That's a perfect way to put it. And just to round that out, the research also flagged one other key use case in the automotive space this week. Li Auto launched their Livis glasses.
And these are even lighter.
Even lighter, just 36 grams. But their main job isn't commerce or 3D stuff. It's to be a remote control for your car.
So you can use voice commands to, change the climate control.
Change the climate control, roll the windows up or down, check the battery level, all from a distance. It turns the wearable into an immediate command center for your biggest robot, your vehicle.
So it doesn't matter if the strategy is comfort or commerce or car control. The takeaway is that the face is now locked in as the prime real estate for the future of AI agents.
No question about it.
All right, this is where it gets, for me, really interesting. This is where that core idea of the augmented self goes from just tracking things to actually intervening. We're seeing wearables finally stop just watching our bodies and start fixing them.
This is the therapeutic revolution. And the whole thing comes down to one word: legitimacy. For years, health wearables have been stuck in this sort of regulatory gray area.
Right, they hint that they can help with your health, but they're very careful with their language.
Exactly. They avoid making medical claims so they don't have to go through the incredibly rigorous FDA clearance process. But the sources our team reviewed confirmed that this week we saw a watershed moment. That line was finally and decisively crossed.
And that moment was the commercial launch of a device called OsteoBoost.
That's the one. Osteoboost hit the market as an FDA-cleared Class 2 prescription medical device.
And that Class 2 clearance, that's the crucial part.
It's everything. Class 2 means the FDA has reviewed the data and agrees that the device has proven clinical efficacy and meets high safety standards. It takes it out of the consumer electronics aisle and puts it firmly in the category of a therapeutic medical device your doctor prescribes.
Okay, so let's be very specific here. What does OsteoBoost actually treat? And what is it? It's a belt.
It's a belt, yes. You wear it around your hips, and it delivers a very targeted, high-frequency vibration therapy to your lower back, the lumbar spine, and your hips.
And the why is so important.
The why is to provide a non-drug treatment for osteopenia. Now, for anyone listening who isn't familiar, osteopenia is the stage right before osteoporosis. It's when you have low bone density.
A huge issue, especially for postmenopausal women.
A massive issue. It affects tens of millions of people, and it puts them at a very high risk for fractures that can be, completely debilitating.
So instead of taking a pill, which has systemic effects all over your body, this device uses physics-mechanical vibration to stimulate your body in a very specific place.
Precisely. The mechanical signals from that specific vibration frequency, they stimulate osteoblasts. Those are the cells in your body responsible for building new bone.
So it's tricking the body into thinking it's doing high-impact exercise.
It's essentially mimicking the osteogenic effect, the bone-building effect of high-impact exercise, but it does it safely, within a protocol, without the stress on your joints or, crucially for this group, the risk of falling.
And the results from the clinical trials, the research team highlighted these, were pretty staggering.
They really were. The data our team cited showed an 85% reduction in vertebral bone loss for people who use the device as prescribed.
An 85% reduction.
85%. I mean, we're talking about outcomes that historically you'd only see with major pharmaceutical drugs. And this is being delivered by a wearable belt you wear for 30 minutes a day.
That kind of result, with that level of clinical backing, it just lends a profound amount of legitimacy to the entire therapeutic wearable market. It changes the economics completely.
It does, and it raises a really important question for all the existing health wearables out there. What does something like OsteoBoost, with its full FDA clearance, do to the rest of the market?
It sets a new standard.
It establishes the third wave. Wave 1 was counting steps. Wave 2 was getting an ECG on your wrist. Wave 3 is active treatment and prevention.
And it creates a moat.
A huge high legitimacy moat. Companies that are willing to go through that long, expensive, rigorous regulatory process, they now have a way to clearly separate themselves. It splits the market into high trust, clinically proven medwear.
And the unregulated consumer-grade toywear.
Exactly. If you want to claim you can really help someone's health, you now have to be ready to show the receipts, clinically speaking.
Beyond these big prescription devices, the research also pointed to some incredible breakthroughs in the materials and the biosensors that are going to make future devices even more powerful and, maybe more importantly, invisible.
We're talking about moving toward technology that is literally like a second skin.
You're right. So what's the first big area there?
One of the major breakthroughs is in something the researchers are calling sweat reading AI. We saw research outlining new wearable patches. They look like a small bandage that combine microfluidics with AI.
Microfluidics, that's the science of controlling tiny amounts of liquid, right?
Exactly. So the patch has these microscopic channels that capture and analyze a tiny sample of your sweat in real time. But instead of just looking at basic things like electrolytes, the AI is decoding really complex biochemical signals.
And what kind of clinically relevant biomarkers are they looking for? This isn't just for athletes measuring hydration anymore.
Not at all. The goal is much bigger. They're targeting non-invasive continuous monitoring of cortisol, which is your body's main stress hormone.
Okay, it's huge for mental health.
Huge. Also, glucose levels, which is the holy grail for diabetes management. And this was the one that really surprised me. Even early warning signs of neurodegenerative conditions like Parkinson's.
From sweat?
From sweat. It contains all these subtle chemical signatures, metabolites, hormones, proteins, and the AI is finally sophisticated enough to read them. It's doing something that used to require a full lab, and it's doing it without a single needle.
That is continuous biochemical monitoring right on your skin.
Yeah.
But for that to work, the electronics themselves have to be able to stretch and move with your body.
And that's where the next breakthrough comes in, flexible electronics. The research highlighted some really creative ways to make circuits that can conform to the human body.
What's one of the most promising techniques?
One is using liquid metal alloys printed on heat-shrinkable polymers. They're calling them shrinking circuits.
Shrinking circuits, how does that work?
You print the circuit a little bit bigger than you need it onto this special polymer. Then you apply a little bit of heat, and the polymer shrinks, forcing the liquid metal pathways to contract and conform perfectly to the curves of, say, your elbow or your knee.
That sounds like a complete shift in how you'd manufacture these things. It paves the way for those medical tattoos we've heard about.
It really does. And on a similar note, our research team also flagged some incredible work on flexible ultrasound sensors coming out of KAIST.
Ultrasound is usually that big, clunky machine on a cart at the hospital.
Exactly. It's always been tethered and bulky. But by making the sensors flexible, they can create a patch that can deliver something called low-intensity focused ultrasound, or LIFU.
And what would you use LIFU for in a wearable?
Well, this is what's so cool about it. It works in two ways. First, the sensor can measure things under your skin, like muscle tension or inflammation. And then it can switch modes and actively treat that inflammation using targeted low-intensity ultrasound energy to increase blood flow and promote healing.
So it's another perfect example of that trend. The wearable doesn't just find the problem, it starts fixing it immediately.
It's a diagnostic tool and a therapeutic intervention all in one patch.
We love hearing your thoughts as we dive into these incredible developments. Whether you're on YouTube or your favorite podcast app, leave a comment and let us know what you think about this shift toward therapeutic wearables. Is that FDA clearance the most important breakthrough, or is it the underlying material science that's the real game changer?
Yeah, that feedback is so important for Tomorrow Unveiled. We want to know which of these forces you think will define the future of the augmented self. Is it the AI, the miniaturization, or the regulation?
And if you're finding this insightful, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to Tomorrow Unveil, and consider hitting that new hype button to help us reach more viewers. And of course, be sure to turn on notifications so you never miss an update on the future.
If you're listening on a podcast service like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, we'd be incredibly grateful if you could leave us a rating and review for Tomorrow Unveiled. It truly helps us reach new listeners and keeps this conversation going.
So what does this all mean for how we actually interact with our tech every day? If it's light enough to wear constantly and smart enough to run these complex algorithms, it means the intelligence is moving off the cloud and onto our bodies.
That's the key. That shift to edge AI is what enables these new experiences, is the decentralization of diagnostics. We need that intelligence running on tiny, low-power chips that can give us clinical-grade analysis without draining the battery in an hour.
And the research team pointed to a specific example of this, using something called tiny ML, or tiny machine learning. How is that making the jump from theory to reality right now?
They detailed a really significant breakthrough. It showed that clinical-grade gait analysis, and gait is the incredibly complex pattern of how you walk for conditions like Parkinson's, can now be done entirely on a cheap, low-power microcontroller. That's tiny ML.
Now, why is that so important? I mean, we've had gait analysis on smartphones for a while.
The difference is efficiency and continuity. With a smartphone, you're usually streaming tons of raw data from the accelerometer and gyroscope up to a server to be processed.
Which kills the battery.
Kills the battery and raises privacy concerns. The TinyML breakthrough means the entire sophisticated diagnostic model is small enough to live right there on the device, on your watch or a belt. The model is compressed using 10 times fewer parameters, and it runs incredibly fast, sub 10 milliseconds.
So it solves those three core problems we talked about at the start: latency, power, and privacy.
All at once. The raw data of how you walk second by second never leaves your wrist. The only thing that might get shared is the final result. Alert. Gait irregularity detected.
Which lets you monitor someone 204/7. It turns the wearable into a continuous diagnostic doctor, not just a data messenger.
That's the paradigm shift.
Okay, so that's the intelligence side. But moving away from that, the research also highlighted a real need to upgrade the feeling of digital interaction, the sense of touch.
The haptic revolution. It's about addressing the missing sense in augmented reality.
Because current haptics are, let's be honest, pretty basic.
They're painfully low resolution. You get a buzz, a vibration. It's fine for notification, but it's completely useless if you want to simulate the feeling of a texture or the shape of a virtual object.
So how are engineers and researchers finally solving this?
The team flagged a brilliant innovation from researchers at UCSB called optotactile pixels. And this completely changes how you create a physical sensation. Instead of having a grid of tiny, complex motors, the pixels are activated by light and heat.
Light and heat. That sounds like something out of science fiction. How does light create a physical bump you can feel?
The mechanism is actually really elegant. Each pixel is a tiny sealed chamber, maybe a millimeter across. Inside, there's a graphite film and an inert gas. A low-power laser shines light on the graphite film.
And graphite absorbs light very efficiently, so it heats up fast.
It heats up almost instantly. That rapid heating causes the gas inside the chamber to expand very quickly.
Basic physics. The gas has to go somewhere.
Exactly. And that expansion creates a physical displacement on the surface, a bump that can move up to a millimeter. Then, when the light turns off, the gas cools instantly and the surface flattens again.
And because the power is delivered by light, the surface itself doesn't need any embedded wires or electronics.
That's the genius of it. It makes it thinner, more resilient, and easier to manufacture. This is what paves the way for feelable holograms, for AR gloves that can let you feel the difference between virtual silk and virtual sandpaper.
Or even for things like Braille displays that can refresh instantly. It's adding a high-fidelity sense of touch to the digital world.
It's moving so far beyond the simple vibration motor we've been stuck with for decades.
Beyond these big foundational breakthroughs, our research team also flagged some, let's call them unexpected, real-world applications of wearables that are happening right now.
Yeah, some that touch on institutional safety and even cultural shifts.
Let's start with the safety one. It was about a school district, right?
That's right. The deployment of wearable panic buttons for all staff in the West Ada School District. On the surface, it's a straightforward safety tool. Teachers and staff wear a badge, and if there's a crisis, they press a button.
And that triggers a lockdown, calls for help. The wearable as a literal lifeline.
Yes, but, and this is the ethically complex part the reports emphasize, it introduces a huge risk. The risk that a tool for safety quietly becomes a tool for surveillance.
How so?
Because for that button to work, the device has to be connected to a network all the time. It has to know its location. So the question becomes, is this device only active in an emergency? Or is it also tracking a teacher's location throughout the day, calculating their dwell time in the break room, monitoring how often they interact with colleagues under the guise of campus optimization?
That's the friction we're going to see more and more as these devices move from being a personal choice to an institutional mandate.
Absolutely. And separately, the team pulled some fascinating data from established players like Garmin, which shows how wearables are both reflecting and shaping fitness culture.
What did the macro data show?
It showed a massive global spike in a couple of very specific low-impact activities. We're talking a 46% increase in people tracking Pilates and a 67% increase in racket sports.
67%. That's not just statistical noise.
Not at all. It reflects a real cultural shift. Experts think it's a few things. One, an aging global population looking for exercise that's easier on the joints. And two, maybe a bit of a backlash against the super high-intensity training that was popular for a while.
So people are moving toward more functional strength, more controlled movements.
It seems so. And the amazing part is that the data from these huge wearable ecosystems gives us this real-time, objective view of a cultural trend that in the past would have taken sociologists years to identify and quantify.
All of this, it just illustrates that while the technology is sprinting ahead, the systems around it, the laws, the ethics, the regulations, they're all playing catch-up. And that's creating some serious friction.
And that friction is not necessarily a bad thing. It's essential. You need that friction to build public trust. If the policy doesn't keep up, you risk a total collapse of trust in areas like privacy.
And the biggest friction point right now, which we touched on with Osteoboost, is the end of that regulatory gray zone.
The FDA is really cracking down. The research was clear that they're increasing their scrutiny of wellness devices that get a little too close to making medical claims without having the clearance to back them up.
So companies like Whoop, Aura, and others who have been operating in that space.
For years, they've been brilliant at marketing features that provide data that's useful for managing your health blood pressure trends, deep sleep analysis, stress scores. But they always do it with the disclaimer that it's for general wellness only.
And now the FDA is basically saying that's not good enough anymore. If it looks like a medical device and provides data like a medical device,
Then it is a medical device, and it needs to be regulated as one. The result, as the analysis showed, is this clear split in the market, a bifurcation.
you've got the high-trust, regulated medwear on one side.
The Osteoboosts of the world, high legitimacy, high trust, high potential for insurance reimbursement, and on the other side you have the consumer-grade toywear, which is still useful, but it's going to be much more restricted in the health claims it can make.
But that must be tough for startups.
It is. It's slowing down innovation for smaller, more agile companies. They might have incredible technology, but they can't afford the tens of millions of dollars and the years it takes to run the clinical trials needed for full FDA clearance.
Okay, beyond the medical side, the deep integration of this on-body AI is bringing up some profound new ethical questions. The reports mention something called neural rights.
This is a really urgent conversation we need to be having. As these wearables move into the workplace, they're starting to track more than just your heart rate. They can now track very sophisticated cognitive data.
Like what? What are we talking about here?
Things like microsaccades, which are tiny involuntary eye movements, pupillary response, which can measure cognitive load, even passive brainwave patterns that can track your overall fatigue or focus levels.
And the fear is that your employer could get access to, what, your pre-conscious thought data. Data you never intended to share.
That's the core risk. Imagine your manager getting an alert that your cognitive load drops every day at 3 p.m. They could use that as objective data to argue you're unproductive.
Or an insurance company.
An insurance company could infer a diagnosis of chronic stress or depression just from your biometric data changes in your heart rate variability, your sleep patterns, how you walk, even if you've never seen a doctor about it.
That's involuntary diagnosis. It makes the need for strong laws about who owns and can access this data incredibly critical.
We need them before the tech is everywhere.
And finally, we have to talk about the one thing that never changes. The laws of physics. No matter how smart the AI gets, we're still limited by physics.
We are. Even with incredible miniaturization like the new Nordic chips that can run on just 1.2 volts, the core problem is still energy.
Energy density.
The battery.
The battery is always the bottleneck. How do you power a chip that's running a clinical-grade diagnostic model 24/7 in something that's light enough to wear all day? The Rockin glasses are 49 grams, which is amazing, but that comes with a trade-off in battery life compared to your phone.
And there's also heat.
A huge issue. Putting a powerful dual-chip system like the one in the Quark S1 glasses right next to your temple generates a lot of heat. And your face is one of the most temperature-sensitive parts of your body. Even a small increase in temperature can make a device completely unbearable to wear for more than a few minutes. Physics still puts a hard limit on how fast and powerful these on-body computers can be. So we are strapping in, literally, to a future where our devices are active partners in our health, in our cognition. The future of wearables, based on everything we saw this week, is light. It's incredibly intelligent, and it is therapeutically active.
And if we boil down everything our research team compiled, I think there are three central takeaways for you to carry forward. Three things that really define this new path of the augmented self.
Okay, what's number one?
Number one, smart glasses are the new AI platform. We're seeing two very different strategies play out. You have the hyper-miniaturized, comfort-first hardware from companies like a Rockin, and then you have the deep ecosystem integration focused on commerce from giants like Alibaba. The platform war is officially moving from your wrist to your face.
Number two.
The line between wellness and medicine is gone. It's been decisively crossed. The launch of active FDA-cleared treatment devices like Osteoboost sets therapeutic intervention as the new gold standard. It's forcing the medicalization of big tech.
And number three.
Future interfaces are going to be seamless and profound, thanks to things like flexible sweat-reading patches that disappear on your skin and new high-fidelity haptics like those optotactile pixels that finally add a real sense of touch to AR. The whole idea of an app on a wearable is giving way to these context-aware AI agents that just live on your body.
So as we look ahead on Tomorrow Unveiled, what should we expect in the near term?
Expect the big players, your Apples, your Samsungs, your Googles, to go hard after FDA de novo clearances for features that target chronic conditions. Think metabolic health, hypertension. The battleground has shifted from who has the most data to who has the most clinical validation for that data.
It is a fascinating, complex, and just incredibly fast-moving future. But before we go, I think we have to leave everyone with one final provocative thought that really builds on everything we've talked about today.
I think we do. If we go back to a device like Osteoboost, which showed an 85% clinical efficacy at reducing bone loss, it was driven by an AI-powered, incredibly consistent protocol. This raises a deep ethical question for the future of medicine. If a therapeutic wearable is proven to be 85% effective at treating your condition by giving you continuous, data-driven, personalized advice, do you, the consumer, have a greater ethical obligation to trust the consistent, objective advice of the AI on your body, or the potentially less data-informed, more generalized advice of your human doctor?
That's the challenge of the augmented self.
It is indeed.
That's a question for Tomorrow Unveiled. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll see you next time on Tomorrow Unveiled.